Hi, everybody. It may be 2026, but my Christmas decorations are still up, so it is still okay to talk about theater that we saw in 2025. Welcome to our 2025 Theater in Review list. I'm Eric.
And I'm Gerry. Hi.
Hi. And we saw a lot of theater in 2025, and we want to talk about our favorite shows that we saw last year. So, we should start off by saying there's one show that you are not going to hear us talk about on this list, and it's right there. It's Evita. Because this is a specifically Southern California theater list. We wanted to bring attention to shows that we saw in SoCal. Listen, Evita was great, but it was in London. You can go watch Mickey Joe's review of it, or you can watch our review of it if you want to hear our thoughts on that show. But we wanted to keep this list specific to the place where we live, Southern California, which has some of the best theater that we saw last year. A lot of it, actually, because that's the ones we're going to talk about right now. Gerry, did you have a good time seeing theater in 2025?
I had a great time. I had my list of all plays, because I make a list of every single play that I see. And I had 38.
Ooh.
Possibly 39. Because I just realized that I didn't add Bob Baker.
There's a few things. Well, here's the thing. LA theater is so interesting because there's a lot of stuff that you don't know if you should classify it as theater. Bob Baker marionettes. Is that theater? It is, because there's theater in the title. There's also Nosferatu Sweet 16, which was an immersive show, part walkthrough, part haunted house, part sketch comedy, part musical. We'll talk about.
There's Ben Platt, the Amundsen,
which was a concert and a theater experience. LA has a lot of unique styles of theater. We're going to talk about some of them. But here on this list today, we're going to give you our top 5 shows. I have a top 5 and Gerry has a top 5. There's a little bit of crossover, you might see. But we're also going to do some honorable mentions, some things that didn't quite make our top 5, but stuff that we really still wanted to shout out in our review. So I think we should start. Well, I think I'll go first, actually. Okay. Because I have
go first.
in my hand
my SpongeBob wine.
Thank you. This is our SpongeBob bubbly. This is pineapple Olipop. So good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh. Girl, I'm on my second glass. You were watching me with this stuff. And we are going to start with my number 5. Eureka Day at the Pasadena Playhouse. This was back in September. We didn't do a review of this show, even though I really quite enjoyed it a lot. This is a show about a sort of a school board group meeting that goes very wrong over the course of a few weeks when an outbreak of measles, I believe. A measles outbreak comes out, and you find out that not everybody on this very collaborative, very engaging, very liberal school board all has the same feelings about vaccines and child safety and who deserves to be kept safe and who does not. And this show is, despite that description I just gave, very, very funny. This show is really prescient for the time. It was written pre-2020, pre a lot of the vaccine debates that we're having right now in America, conversations that just devolve more and more shouting and chaos. This show, Eureka Day, is a little bit prescient because it actually existed before the moment we're in now, but yet speaks to a lot of the insecurity and the inability to have what feels like proper discussions about very serious, very important subjects. I really liked it a lot. Gerry, what did you think of Eureka Day?
Ooh. Well, it might be on my list, but I did love it. Exactly the reasons you were saying. I thought it was just very timely. I think it's a hilarious show that's like to the point, very important. It knows what it's saying, and it's also surprising what it's saying in the sense that it's not preaching to the choir. And like a lot
Which I think was my big worry going in. Is like, is this just going to be confirming biases I already have about what I think about vaccines?
Yeah, which I'm like, at that point, and I saw some theater this year that was like that, and it was very frustrating. But I love that this one is really like, my favorite thing literally is there's a monologue that the antagonist, we could say, has in that really humanizes that character, even though again it's a very funny play and a lot of the things have been playing for laughs, but that monologue really makes you feel for that person and understand. And I think we need more theater like that makes you understand even somebody that we completely disagree with.
That when people come to conclusions that we don't agree with, that doesn't automatically mean that they're idiots because they've had an emotional response to something that's very serious, that's very real to them. People don't just arrive out of... People don't arrive to conclusions out of pure ignorance. People arrive to conclusions based on their own personal experiences and how they form their opinions alongside people who are like-minded in that same emotional place as them.
And the place still like ends on like, you know, I think to like a very...
It does not both sides it.
It does not both sides it, which I also like
yeah.
that. Like but it gave you, it humanized something that I feel an argument that we always dehumanize, especially online, and it humanized it here.
And this show has a lot about how online discourse specifically dehumanizes so many of us. And there's a very funny scene, I would say about probably 30 minutes into the show, where they're having this sort of like online parent-teacher meeting where you have the school board in the room who are also trying to moderate a chat room that we're seeing projected behind us. And the chat room discourse is just devolving and getting more upsetting and more aggressive and more mean and more full of name calling and personal attacks.
And it's hilarious.
And it's so funny because we see this happen all the time in real life. People are trying to have good faith debates, and then there's something about online discussion that removes the ability to have those debates in good faith. And this play very hilariously points a finger at that and goes, guys, can we all just like interface face to face and like have a real conversation and treat each other as humans? And Eureka is kind of a play about people who just don't know how to do that. So that was my number 5. Gerry,
Nice.
What is your number 5?
My number 5 is Furlough's Paradise, which I don't have a program for. So I'm terrible because we're at your house, and so I forgot to bring it.
Because I did not see this show. This is one of the few shows that I did not get to see with you this year.
Exactly. I got to see it, I believe, 2 times. But I loved it.
Where was this at?
This was at the Geffen Playhouse, which you can cut this if you want. But I'm a teaching artist and so that's why I got to see it twice. So I got to also... I may be biased in the sense that I got to read it before and then see it and then see it again. But something that I liked a lot about this was that it was a very millennial play. It's written by A.K. Payne, and I love that it was... It's funny because I talked to other people that saw it and they were like, I didn't like this about it, but I loved that it was kind of like a play where it was very slice of life, and maybe there wasn't a lot of plot other than the time was ticking, because basically it's about these 2 cousins who are, one of them is on furlough and she's staying with their other cousin, right? And it talks a lot about just a lot of concepts, especially freedom. Like, what is freedom? What is freedom in this country? And what is freedom as a person of color in this country? And I thought those discussions were wonderful, especially for, again, it was a very millennial perspective. There was a point in the show where there is a Cheetah Girls dance out, and I lost it and I fully screamed and I cried. It was wonderful, but also it was very poetic. Like, there was a lot of kind of like, I would say spoken word, but also just like poetic dance, poetic movement. And I really love that kind of, a lot of projections. The set was beautiful. It was very my kind of show. And for that reason, I wanted to put it in my top 5 because I just really, really enjoyed it. It really moved me, and it made me feel seen.
Yeah.
And that's what theater's about.
I'm really bummed I didn't get to. When you saw this, I know the first time you said, Eric, you have to see this. This is one of the best shows of the year. And I unfortunately wasn't able to make the time. And then I think you saw it a second time. We're like, Eric, you really got to see this.
It was busy. It was like...
It was a busy season. Because when did you see that?
I think it was like in April.
Yeah.
Like April, May.
Early, yeah. Spring's a busy time for theater in LA.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is Gerry's number 5.
All right,
moving on to my number 4. And I do have the playbill here. It is... Paranormal Activity at the Amundsen Theater.
Spooky.
Now, I did do a full video review of Paranormal Activity on this channel. I was so smitten with this show because this is one of the most intense cases of my bar being so low and then having my expectations for what the show ended up being completely blown out of the water. Paranormal Activity, based on a really popular film franchise, on a series of movies that I personally do not think are very good. I don't find them very scary. I find them pretty boring. This show was able to take the few things that are good about these films and translate them onto stage and make them absolutely terrifying. I'm gripping my armrests. I loved this show so much. I saw the show quite a few times because I also do work at the Amundsen Theater. I work on the merch table. I have no input on the quality of this show. I just get to hang out and hand out and sell t-shirts. But Paranormal Activity is just some of the best horror theater I've ever seen. It's such an untapped genre. And it's weird that it doesn't get done more often. I think there's such a immersive communal moment that can happen when you do horror theater, because you're in this room full of these people who are leaning forward, who are very breathless, who are quiet and fully engaged in this experience. And there are moments in the show that are absolutely jaw-dropping. There's some practical magic scenes. There are scenes of really well done like projection mapping. There's a lot of like not being able to tell if your eyes are like playing tricks on you in the moment. And that's just, it's there in the lighting. It's there in the very simple but very realistic set design. And the author of the show, Levi Holloway, he did such an incredible job adapting this piece and again, taking what's scary about the films and making them work on stage, but also like crafting a very on its face, very small narrative about a couple and a relationship that is very troubled, and the traumas that two people bring into a relationship that they don't necessarily reckon with together as a couple, that leads to a lot of the more horrific things that happen in terms of the haunting or the ghosts or the spirits or whatever it is that's happening to these people. Levi Holloway crafts a very realistic and very understandable and relatable relationship dynamic. And I was really impressed that the show, alongside its scares, also crafted a very fascinating examination of like a relationship that's in a lot of trouble, and one that you do want to win out, even though you can clearly understand where both people are clearly wrong and are tripping up and are paying a divine punishment for the things that they are not dealing with, which is what makes the best horror theater. Horrible things happen to these people, but you kind of understand why. So yeah, Paranormal Activity at the Amundsen Theater. Now in DC, soon to be in San Francisco. Go watch my video review if you want more thoughts on that. Gerry, this did not make your list.
It did not. Well, it made my top 11. Mm. I think I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I was like wondering if I should put it higher or not. I think that at the end, the only thing I criticized was like that there was a story that kind of didn't close enough for me. I only saw it one time, but it didn't fully close the loop, and that was my only criticism about it. But I loved the production. I thought it was an incredibly well done production. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad it's on the list, in your list. It's on my top. It's on my top 11. It was my 11.
Number 11. You wouldn't say top 11 if it wasn't number 11.
Exactly. Okay. And then what is my number 4? My number 4, we already discussed it, but it was the one and only Eureka Day,
which I forgot to shout out, written by Jonathan Spector.
Yes.
Directed by Teddy Bergman. I really liked this show a lot.
Lovely. All right, so let's skip to your number 3.
My number 3 is Cambodian rock band, Lauren Yee's Cambodian rock band. This is a very, very special show to me. I first saw this show back in 2019 at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, back when I used to live up in Ashland, Oregon, where I went to school. And this production is special because a lot of the cast from that 2019 production reprised their roles in this show. I loved this show then. I love this show now. This is one of my favorite plays of all time. This is not a musical, but the ever popular now play with music. It is a story set both in the present and in the past about a family's generational dealings with the Khmer Rouge genocide back in Cambodia in the 70s. It starts telling us the story of a daughter who is the son of a man who escaped the Khmer Rouge genocide, and then also is a flash back in time to seeing her father's experience during it. But it also kicks ass and is full of lots of really cool rock music. This is an actor-musician show, so while it is about it is about an actual Cambodian rock band, all the actors also play the instruments in the show. They're all so incredibly talented in this show. And I'm glad the show has a lot of music in it because it does go to some very dark, very sad places. I mean, it's a show about a genocide, and also is incredibly politically relevant. Because it's about a genocide. It sort of deals with the banality of evil, of why people do horrible, evil things, and then excuse it away by saying that they were maybe just following orders, or maybe they didn't understand the magnitude, or, well, I just had to do this because if I didn't do it, they were going to do it to me instead. And it deals with how people can get talked into doing really horrible things and not see it as that until maybe much later in the future. Gerry, did you like this show?
I loved this show.
This was your first time because you'd not seen the show before.
I had never seen this show before. I've been wanting to. I remember, I think it was in San Diego when I was still living there. I loved it. Like you said, like everything. It's such a complete show. I think that's why I put. Well, it's maybe higher up in my list. Mm-hmm. But it has everything. It has the great music, and yet the music is also commenting, and it had dramatic scenes, it had funny scenes. The talent was exceptional.
Specifically, I want to shout out Daisuke Tsuji, yes. Who is the narrator of sorts of the show. He has a very important role in the show that isn't really revealed until much later on, but he's very charming, and he's very evil. The character, not Daisuke Tsuji, lovely person in real life, I'm sure, but he plays both sides of the coin of being absolutely charming and charismatic, and also being very conniving and very cutting and very cruel. And the way that he balances those two things, while you still end up rooting for a character you know that you're supposed to hate. His performance is one of my favorite performances. I saw him back in 2019. He reprised the role here. This is still one of my favorite stage roles in any show I've ever seen. And I'm so glad that you also got to see him too.
I know.
And this show, this was at East West Players. Mm-hmm. And it featured a lot of the same design elements as well. I know that the set, when I saw it back in 2019, was a thrust stage. This was more of a proscenium setup, but still had a lot of the same set dressing, a lot of the same costuming, a lot of the same general set design and vibe.
Also, I want to say, just like shout out to East West Players. It was a great production. I didn't feel like I missed. I mean, you've told me a little bit about the other, but like everything about this one was incredible. I'm thinking right now of like the intermission had some really cool sound design that I'm just like thinking of that was kind of terrifying.
Unnerving.
Again, it was like, for me, it was like a combination of like cabaret with stereophonic with like...
There's absolutely a lot of lines you can draw from cabaret to Cambodian rock.
But it's in a very different vibe. Like
and the desire to make art in the face of absolute evil and destruction. Like what...
And how important it is.
And how important and how it like maintains... Sometimes it's the only thing that can maintain your sanity in like the face of absolute evil. Mm-hmm. Great show. Cambodian rock band. I don't know... I mean, this is a regional darling. I see this show getting done regionally all the time. I don't know if there'll ever be like another major like Broadway or off-Broadway version of it, but
I can see it.
Cannot go wrong. It's Lauren Lee's Cambodian rock band. We loved it. It was my number 3. Gerry, what was your number 3?
My number 3...
I do have the playbill. Here it comes.
Yeah, thank you. Was Appropriate.
Or is it appropriate?
Exactly. That's the whole point. Mm-hmm. At the Old Globe in San Diego. So this is our only San Diego show.
I know.
Which is great. We did see some good San Diego, but obviously we saw more up here in LA.
Because we live here.
Because we live here. This was just like a grand, like, I'm blanking on the word.
Like an American kitchen
like an American
sink drama.
classic, but like new. And that was
so much. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Streetcar Named Desire.
Tennessee Williams.
Tennessee Williams. Very Tennessee Williams. Let me get the real author of this play. This is by Brandon Jacobs Jenkinson. You may know him because he just recently had his new play Purpose on Broadway, which also won quite a few awards. This production, I loved it. But this is your number.
I know. Well, you can chime in because this might be
on my list also.
It was just very epic, and there was the set, like everything that I wasn't expecting from a play, and from you would expect from this kind of more like classical play. It had a lot of elements to it in the set, in the sound, in the acting.
We should say, and actually, let me just say, my number 2 is appropriate. So let's just get this. We'll just do a big appropriate chunk right now in this video. Yeah. This is my number 2 show of the year. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. This is a play about a family who is reuniting after the death of their father on their southern plantation home. And as they are going through their father's belongings, they find a book of secrets. A book full of very dark family secrets. This is a southern plantation home. You can imagine that the past of this home and going generations back is a little fraught. Slaves, I'll just say that. And that this family maybe has some really dark things in its past that, while nobody currently alive in this family is personally responsible for, maybe that this family absolutely has not reckoned with or talked about or really come to terms with what any of this means for them now. And you can see in this family that there's a lot of trauma that has been passed down because of horrible things that have happened in this family's past. And it's very much part of the reason why I loved this show so much is that because this really does speak to so much about like America and America's history and white Americans in particular who haven't necessarily really figured out how to talk about our relationship with race, and our place in our country's dark history and dark past. In this family, it's about 3 siblings who find this book full of a scrapbook full of pretty upsetting photographs. And, there's one member of the family who wants to sell it for money because these are historic photos and might be worth a lot of money. 2, destroy these photos because these are horrific and they shouldn't exist anymore. And 3, try to excuse why they even exist at all and try to make excuses for it. And those 3 things, money, destruction, or excuses, are the 3 things that it seems like we're always circling around when we try to talk about things like our history with slavery and our history with abuse and genocide in America. And Appropriate just really tackles these things in a really direct and really honestly kind of shocking that this play talks about what it does so blatantly and so forwardly. I think Brandon Jacobs Jenkinson is an absolutely insane, incredible playwright because he's able to juggle all of these themes while also crafting a fairly large, I want to say there's probably 10 characters in this play, and writing all these very well-written characters, and their dynamics together feel very real, and you feel the pain and the past and the suffering between these people and their relationships. You feel so many different things about the way they speak about their late father.
No, and I feel like the one thing that I do, similar to Eureka Day, it's like the fact that it does humanize these characters and you understand their reason. And you might disagree completely with them, but like seeing the argument play out between 3 people and seeing a lot of things that maybe, again, it's like digesting this information and digesting these things that are like never spoken in our society, but like need to be talked about and need to be spoken.
Because what happens when you don't? The rot just festers.
And that's what this play is about.
Mm-hmm. Loved it. Loved Appropriate.
Yep. Fantastic.
Or Appropriate. Whatever you like.
Also, we love a double entendre title.
Yay. Anyway, so that was my number 2. So now I believe we can move on to Gerry. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is once again, of course, Completing Rock Man. which you talked about already at plenty. So I'm just going to say I loved it once again. Shout out to East West Players. It was a fantastic movie. I think it had everything.
It's my favorite East West Players show
that you've ever seen.
Yeah,
there.
East West Players being is in downtown LA. It's the oldest Asian American focused theater in the U.S. So they try to focus a lot on Asian American stories. This is one of the best Asian American plays by an Asian American playwright I've ever seen. I think the show's a slam dunk. And I'm so glad that they got to have their version of this show finally.
Yeah. And it was the most complete play that I saw. And I put it at number 2 because our number 1, which we share.
We have the same number 1.
Should we say it or should we do...
Oh my God, you're right. Hold on.
Not
Go
yet.
back.
Not yet. We're not going to say it.
We're not going to say it yet because
let's say it's a very different kind of play. Mm-hmm. But yes.
We have to talk about our honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. Who do you want to go? Should I go first? You go first.
You go first.
Okay, my honorable mentions are, well, I already kind of cheated by saying my 11, which is Paranormal Activity we already talked about. But we also have Stereophonic.
Yay! A show that we saw. I did a review of it. Mm-hmm. You can watch it on this channel.
Wonderful show, which is also on your mentions, right?
Yeah, this is also one of my... I'll say this is my number 8 on my list. What
should we say? I was not going to say that, but yeah, I guess we should. It was my 10 on my list. Stereophonic, wonderful show. What a dense but slice of life play. My sister's a musician. Shout out to Juliana. But it really made me kind of understand. It's just about the artistic process and how the pains of it and how it can create something beautiful. And it's seeing it happen. Yeah, you already talked about it plenty.
Great job.
Next up, I have Little Boy, Little Man, also at the Geffen. Wonderful show. This one is it's kind of almost, this one I also got to read first before I saw it, but it's a little bit of a take on Top Dog Underdog, but it was a very different, when I read it on paper, it seemed more like that, but then when I saw it, it's fantastic because it's about these 2 Latino brothers in Miami. And so it is very, very cool. And the way that it was staged, it was kind of almost in the round, was very fun. It was about a street performer. So you can imagine all they did with it. It was really, really cool. I also got Some Like It Hot, which we loved.
Hot in here.
Yeah, beautiful musical. I think one of my favorite touring shows this year at the Pantages. And
also a review on this channel you can watch.
Also review on this channel, and shout out to me. I think why I put it on the list finally is because it has the beautiful character of Osgood, who I will play someday.
A role you will play.
I will play because it's made for me. And then I got Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which you got free tickets with. For.
We didn't pay for it. We didn't pay for it.
I did get to see it. This is my 3rd time seeing it. I did pay for it the first time I saw it on Broadway. And
that was a long time ago.
Before it got kooky. But I did see it on Broadway, and I did see it at the Current in San Francisco in 2019. And this was my first time seeing the reduced version, which they did. And I thought it was better. I thought that the reduced version was a better version of the story. And I really loved actually what it talks about. It's not the most complex play, but I like the topics it touches. And I love the production. I just love the production so much. It's a fantastically directed play. One of my favorites ever directed. And
directed, underlined directed.
One of my favorite directed play. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not favorite written plays.
No, yeah, I mean, but I still I know you don't love the writing. I think I don't love the writing either, but I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people say. But anyways, but I also kudos for them adding the gay stuff back to the end. That's all I'll say. And finally, my last honorable mention is Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl.
Again, but...
Wait, what is that?
Not this, but this.
Oh, the cross? Jesus. The
video you can watch on this channel.
Yes. But yes, obviously with Cynthia as Jesus.
Cynthia who?
Cynthia. She doesn't need
From
it
Rugrats?
Yeah. No. She doesn't need no, she loves the Erivo, so I'll say the Erivo, of course. Cynthia Erivo was Jesus, and it was incredible cast. Go watch our review. Yeah, one of the most fun.
The most I felt I've gone to church in years.
Truly. Other than Testament of Henley.
Should we review Testament of Henley? Technically a musical.
We should.
Anyway, great. Are those all your honorable mentions?
Those are my honorable mentions.
All right, let me go down my honorable mentions then. My number 10 show, I mentioned it at the top of the show. It was Nosferatu's Sweet 16. This was at the Elysian Theater. This is a production with Freak Nature Puppets. They're an avant-garde puppet theater company here in Los Angeles. Like I said earlier, this is both an immersive walkthrough show. This is a sketch show. This is a musical. Just one of my favorite mashups of many different kinds of theater that I'm a fan of, all in one show. All with a very low, very purposefully shoestring budget. It's ridiculous. It's silly. It's over the top. I loved it. I hope it comes back. It was only performed for 2 nights only.
They've done it before, right?
Yeah. So they may restage it again. I know it was very popular. It was very cool. Yeah, that was my number 10. My number 9 was Ja's African Hair Braiding at the Mark Taper Forum. Disclosure, I work at this theater, but again, only doing merch. I have no input on these shows. This is a somewhat direct transfer of the Broadway production that was on Broadway, I believe, in 2023. This is a great show about a group of African immigrants who work in a African hair braiding salon in New York. It is about sort of their individual stories as immigrants and the ways that they have found ways to fit into an increasingly hostile environment known as America. Again, a very timely show. Very timely show. Very upsettingly timely show. But just a very funny show, a very heartwarming show. Probably one of the most, despite its dark turns, one of the most well-natured, big-hearted shows I saw this year. My number 8, Stereophonic. Loved it. Loved the music. Loved people fighting. I love a little. And this show had it all. My number 7 was Some Like It Hot, also on Gerry's honorable mention list. Great musical, great adaptation. I know in our video about it, our full video about it, we talked a lot about just how beautifully they updated this materials as a movie from the 50s, that they were able to bring into a modern era while still retaining much of the 50s aesthetic, or I guess 30s aesthetic because it's set during Prohibition. They made a show that could have easily made queer and trans people the butt of the joke, and instead celebrated them and celebrated their existence and created and just made such a beautiful, realistic portrayal of what it is to be a gender non-conforming person and what that would have been like in the 30s and how it's really not that hard to accept people. Even back then, wasn't that hard to accept people. It never has been. It never should be. And then my number 6 was Top Dog Underdog by Susan Laurie Parks at the Pasadena Playhouse, a revival of a show I've been wanting to see for years, about 2 brothers, I believe. They were brothers, who are both living in hard times and start doing increasingly desperate things in order to get ahead in life, but also to get ahead of each other. In this brother dynamic, one has to be the top dog and one has to be the underdog. And it's a show that I see it and I go, oh, this is why this is an American classic. It's about 2 brothers, but it's also, again, about America and America's history and its treatment of Black people and its treatment of people below the poverty line and the ingenuity and the genius and the braggadociousness of trying to be a hustler in the United States. This is a great show, and it was my number 6. All right, those are our honorable mentions out of the way. Gerry, are you ready to speak on our number 1 show of the year? We had the same number 1 show, and it is...
I have to say it more slowly.
Okay, it is...
There you go.
This is Julia Mosley's Ha 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 Ha.
Ha
ha. 7 ha's. Specifically, 7 ha's. Gerry, what the hell is this show?
Oh my god.
Because you were saying like Appropriate's incredible and Cambodian Rock Band are incredible as these beautifully structured pieces. Why did you say that? Because what is ha 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 in contrast?
Ha 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 is wonderful because it is truly a theatrical experience that can only be experienced the night that you see it. And yet it's still theater because I think the brilliancy of it is that it feels like your show is going to be unique and it's never, but it also, you can tell, and we talked about this, there's a lot of, like, everything is planned. And so there's like a lot of like, it's magic in the sense that like you truly don't know what is the show and what's
gonna happen,
and a lot of it is because the audience there that night says so. Basically what it is, Julia Masley is this wonderful clowning actress,
from Estonia,
Estonia, and then she did this show first at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It's been done a few other places, but basically it's about this like character who we never know their name, Julia, but she's almost like an alien, and she's going around trying to understand people, and she speaks,
trying to solve their problems.
Yeah. Like that's the whole premise, that Julia will solve your problems, and so she asks people in the audience like their problems.
Well, no, she asks people in the audience, problem? And she walks up and she holds a golden spray painted mannequin leg with a microphone taped to it, and she holds it up to their mouths and goes, problem?
Yes. And so at the beginning of the show, you really are like, what is this?
What are we watching?
Where is this going? And so it's kind of like, I hope it goes somewhere special. But again, it's all very planned, and it kind of gets you in the mood to like, at some point, like, people just start sharing their problems.
Like, for example, the first thing that happens in the show is someone, well, not the first thing, there's a lot of things that happen. One of the first major moments that happened in our show when we saw it was she goes up to someone and says, problem, and this person goes, I don't know, everything's really expensive. And Julia goes, why? Well, because the world is really hard and it's expensive. And Julia goes, who did this to you? It's like, I don't know, some politician or billionaire or someone out there, someone did this to me. And Julia goes, is anyone here a manager? Who here is a leader, a manager? And like some random person in the audience will like raise his hand and will be like, I'm like a manager at a store or something. He's like, come with me. And she pulls this man up onto the stage and she goes, we will cleanse the evil from our leaders. And she like sends this man off stage to go get undressed and then come back on stage and like take a shower on a shower that she like pulls a curtain back, and there's been a shower on this stage the whole time, and makes this man take a shower. And it's what it does is it goes, okay, well, clearly these things weren't plants. These are two people who I have a hard time believing were plants in the audience. But also, how did she have a shower on stage already? How did she figure out that this was how she was going to use this shower? How was there already a light cue programmed into the show to shine a light onto this shower when they needed to use it?
And I think that's the thing. It's like, it is very structured, and the way there's high art in the way that she kind of like guides us as the audience through helping her both craft the show, but also she is crafting it with us, right?
Like someone in the audience says their problem is that they're tired. She's like, oh, tired? She brings them on stage, pulls a bed on stage, gives them a sleep mask and headphones, and makes them lay on the bed on stage with their eyes and their ears covered for the rest of the entire show.
And the whole, I think at the end, the whole, like, you know, a big point of the show is like that it makes you feel like, it makes you see other people, and it makes you feel like, oh, a lot of my problems involve or can be solved or can, like, they coexist everybody.
We all kind of have the same problems.
We have the same,
the big picture
or we
of the
relate
show.
to, or like there's relation in that, and there's connection in our problems.
And so to bring an audience together to solve these problems.
It is so beautiful.
Because over the course of the show, we all go from kind of being in their seats going, what is this? What's going on? To at the end, like getting these fully these narratives from these strangers who we didn't know that they were going to be a part of the show tonight. And suddenly we're clapping for this guy because now he's crowd surfing over the audience.
Or it was his birthday.
Yeah, and he was like feeling sad on his birthday. And he like didn't feel good about his life. And like we cheered for him and like brought all of these people up. And she stole a bunch of socks. And then our friend who we went to the show with got pulled on stage into a dating game.
That's right.
And
it was magic. It was theater magic.
Truly It's truly one of those magical moments of like, I don't understand. Well, it's like, I understand how the trick of like, well, all these things exist. It's the trick of how does Julia as this character craft an entire narrative every single night in a way that does not fully just fall flat on its face. This show is a magic trick happening in front of your eyes from start to finish for like all 90 minutes of it.
And also my heart felt big after it. Mm-hmm. Like it was just one of those like, oh, wow.
We really are a human species enduring and existing and loving and crying and going through all of these inevitably very similar things together all at once. And like just makes you proud to be a human. It's like, and isn't that magical that theater can make you feel that way in a show about
it humanizes yourself.
Yeah. Really, because it does. Because I think what this show does is it makes you sit there and go, well, what is my problem? Mm-hmm. If she came up to me right now and asked me what my problem was, what would I say?
Exactly.
And that kind of like, that is actually challenging theater to me. It is so easy to sit in a theater and watch what's happening on stage and feel the fourth wall between you and the performers and just kind of take it in, maybe very passively, and then walk out and maybe not think about it again. But this is a show that asks you to ask questions of yourself every moment that it's happening. And it's not easy to make theater that does that to you. I think that's something very special. I'm so glad Pasadena Playhouse brought this show out. I think Julia Masley is a generational talent, and I hope that she just continues to solve people's problems for as long as people allow her to.
Yes. We love you.
I love you, Julia. Problems.
All right. Well, that was our list.
Happy 2025. Happy 2025 and hello 2026.
Indeed. Anything you're looking forward to this year?
I am looking forward to... we were just talking about Bartleby at the Old Globe, which is a Fiasco Theater production. Fiasco Theater is a theater company I've been a big fan of for a long time. They're very kooky, very avant-garde, very silly theater company. They're adapting The Tale of Bartleby, and I'm excited to go see it soon. Gerry, you do one.
I'm looking forward to seeing The Notebook later this week.
We are seeing The Notebook on Thursday.
But there's a bunch of stuff. I'm actually looking forward to a lot of Here Lies Love.
Here Lies Love at the Mark Taper.
My friend Rihanna Casio is in it, and I'm so excited to see her. She's been out in New York doing Hamilton for the past few years. So I'm so happy. But she did Here Lies Love in New York as well. So I'm happy to see that. I'm very, very excited.
I'm excited. I just found out, actually, there's a production of Sweeney Todd happening at La Mirada Theater starring Leslie Margarita, one of my favorite Broadway divas as Mrs. Lovett, and also weirdly directed by Jason Alexander from Seinfeld.
So good.
Would love to see that soon.
Dragon Mama is going to be the Geffen.
Sequel
to
tickets, Dragon Lady, one of my favorite shows from 2024 that I saw.
And it's a smaller house this time, so get your tickets soon because it will sell out. Because she sold out the big theater, so I'm pretty sure she's going to like super sell out this one. But that's another one I'm really looking forward to. Beetlejuice is going to be at the Pantages as well. I hope I get to see it because I
big blind spot for both of us. I think that's a show that's really been huge the last couple of years, especially if you're a Gen Z person on the internet, which I kind of am half. I'm half Gen Z. I'm mixed. I'm mixed millennial Gen Z.
You're in a Gen Z star, or what's it called in the horoscope?
Oh, I'm a
Gen Z rising.
I'm a Gen Z rising with a millennial sun.
Yeah.
And a boomer moon.
Also, looking forward to the Beauty and the Beast in the summer because it's my favorite show, or one of my favorite shows, and I saw that production, the second preview of it in the UK in Bristol.
Of this production that's touring?
Of this actual production,
oh, cool.
yeah. And then it started touring. You did a UK tour, and then it did, a U.S. tour, and finally it's here. So.
All right. And that's all I can think of for now.
Yeah.
There will be more theater, and I'm sure as soon as I stop recording, I'm going to remember 5 other things I'm excited about. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this YouTube channel. I really enjoy getting to cover Southern California theater, especially with you, Gerry. It's been a pleasure. I know we're going to see a lot of really cool stuff this year, and I hope you stay with us as we cover and talk about it all. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in 2026.
Happy 2026.
Bye.